Hey everyone, welcome to Cruise Blog. This is Angie, and today I'm going to talk about 7 reasons why you should book an Alaska cruise instead of a Caribbean cruise. Let's get started. Caribbean cruises are the most popular cruise itineraries for a reason, but that doesn't mean they're the best choice for everyone. Although the region's plentiful beaches and warm temperatures are synonymous with a perfect vacation, you'll also deal with extreme heat and crowds in your itinerary's ports of call. So, instead of booking that tropical getaway, why not try something new and book a cruise to Alaska? While not a stereotypical cruise experience, cruising to the last frontier is becoming more and more popular each year. Over 1.6 million cruise passengers visited Alaska in 2023 alone. With outstanding scenery, centuries of history, and a wide selection of cruise itineraries, it's easy to see why cruising to Alaska has become a must for so many vacationers. Here are the top 7 reasons to trade that bikini for a beanie and book an Alaska cruise for your next sailing. First, Alaska cruises offer more comfortable temperatures compared to summer cruises in the Caribbean. Those Caribbean beaches may look perfect, but there's one major con of cruising to the Caribbean: the heat. Never underestimate the temperatures and humidity in the Caribbean. The weather can be downright miserable, especially in the summer months. Constant sweat is almost a given, in addition to a higher likelihood of painful sunburns and discomfort. The Caribbean heat means you must always consider the weather before booking shore excursions. That walking tour of Nassau might seem great on paper, but in reality, the weather could make the experience less than enjoyable. Alaska cruises, on the other hand, generally offer more comfortable temperatures than the Caribbean. Contrary to what many believe, an Alaska cruise does not necessarily equate to freezing temperatures. Many cruisers, in fact, are surprised by just how warm Alaska's cruise ports can feel, especially for itineraries in June, July, and August. Ports like Juneau and Ketchikan can see temperatures in the 70s. Even with temperatures in the 50s, Alaska cruises can feel significantly more comfortable than Caribbean itineraries. It's easier to plan active shore excursions like kayaking and cycling without worrying about feeling like you'll faint from the heat. Rain is almost guaranteed, particularly for those cruising to Alaska in the early or late part of the cruise season. Temperature-wise, though, you're sure to feel more comfortable on an Alaska cruise than on a Caribbean cruise. Of course, there's something to be said about escaping the snow up north for a Caribbean cruise during the winter, but as far as summer is concerned, it's hard to beat the weather on an Alaska cruise. Next, Alaska cruises offer so much more than ocean views. Not only does Alaska's scenery take your breath away while exploring ports of call, but you're sure to be left mesmerized from the comfort of your cruise ship too. When cruising to the Caribbean, land will disappear from sight almost immediately after leaving a port of call. As your ship heads back into the open sea, only the endless vast ocean will surround your cruise ship. As mesmerizing as the ocean can be, there's something extra special about cruising with views of not only the ocean, but also glaciers, mountains, and fjords. From the moment a cruise ship enters Alaska's Inside Passage, passengers can enjoy views of the state's magnificent landscape on both sides of the ship. Despite the chilly temperatures, it's common to see passengers gather on the ship's outer decks, taking in the truly exceptional views of their surroundings. For many cruisers, watching the scenery pass by as the ship travels from one port to another is a major highlight of any Alaska cruise experience. Whereas a Caribbean cruise may offer a fast-paced atmosphere each day with back-to-back entertainment and activities, Alaska cruises tend to have a more tranquil ambiance. Sometimes the best thing to do on board an Alaska cruise is to sit and relax with a view, whether from the jacuzzi, a bar, or your private balcony. If you're lucky, you might even spot wildlife from the cruise ship, including bears, whales, and otters. Next, glacier viewing days are a highlight of Alaska cruises, and this is impossible to experience in the Caribbean. You can book a cruise to hundreds of destinations, but few port days are as unique as those visiting Alaska's glaciers. Most but not all Alaska cruise itineraries feature a scenic sightseeing day, during which your ship sails alongside a glacier. Passengers do not disembark the ship at the glacier, rather they sightsee from the ship's outdoor decks instead. Depending on the itinerary, most cruise ships visit either Hubbard Glacier or Dawes Glacier. Select cruise lines, such as Princess Cruises and Holland America, offer itineraries to Glacier Bay National Park and Preserve, where visitors can view several glaciers in a single day. Typically, as your ship approaches a glacier, the landscape becomes dramatic. Mountain peaks in these glacial fjords are higher and more jagged than other waterways in the state, and small icebergs begin to appear as you make the approach. Upon arrival, the captain will turn the ship 360 degrees in order to ensure all passengers have the chance to marvel at the terrain. This type of sightseeing is unfathomable on a Caribbean cruise. You certainly won't find glaciers in the tropics. Although the lush green scenery in the Caribbean never disappoints, having the chance to see a glacier up close simply cannot be missed. Next, seafood lovers will enjoy sampling Alaska's fresh and flavorful cuisine. You'll want to be hungry while visiting the last frontier. The state is home to some of the world's most delectable seafood. For many travelers, food is a huge drawing point towards visiting one region of the world over another. When cruising to Alaska, you'll have the chance to try mouth-watering seafood in every port, from king crab legs in Juneau to beer-battered fried cod in Sitka. Naturally, the Caribbean offers its fair share of tasty cuisine too, including sweet rum cakes in the Bahamas and spicy salsa in Cozumel. But few cruise destinations offer the quality and variety of cold water seafood quite like Alaska. Choosing to cruise to Alaska over the Caribbean means you can sample cuisine around the state. Most cruise lines offer food-focused excursions, although it's easy enough to sit down at a restaurant for lunch if you prefer exploring without a tour. Whether you participate in a traditional salmon bake or grab a quick bite from a food truck, you're sure to be left satisfied with Alaska's culinary delights. Next, Alaska cruises offer the opportunity to learn about the region's native culture and gold rush history. Every Alaska cruise port offers the opportunity to broaden your knowledge of Alaska's history, whether learning about the state's traditional native culture or more recent gold rush history. There's so much history in each Alaska cruise port that visitors do not even need to seek it out themselves. As soon as you disembark your ship, whether in Skagway, Juneau, Ketchikan, or Sitka, you'll be surrounded by history and culture. To learn about Alaska's native cultures, passengers can book excursions to watch a traditional dance performance, learn how the Tlingit people carve and paint totem poles, and visit museums focusing on sharing and preserving native cultures. Those interested in the gold rush can book a ticket on the famous White Pass and Yukon Route Railway in Skagway, stroll through the historic Creek Street in Ketchikan, and try your hand at gold panning in Juneau. A majority of shore excursions offer insights into the region's history and culture. Even if you didn't plan on learning about Alaska's history, it's almost inevitable that you'll return home with more knowledge. Caribbean cruises, on the other hand, offer fewer opportunities to learn about history and local culture. While it's possible to learn about the history of destinations like Cozumel and Aruba on a cruise, it's hard to pass up spending the day at a Caribbean beach. Despite the intriguing history of Caribbean destinations, museums and cultural activities are not the main draw of the region for the majority of cruise passengers. Next, most Alaska cruises depart from Seattle or Vancouver as opposed to Florida and Texas. For cruisers based in the western US and Canada, it's hard to beat the convenience of cruising from Seattle or Vancouver. Instead of that grueling cross-country flight to Florida for a Caribbean cruise, you'll appreciate the short flight or drive to Seattle or Vancouver. For cruisers based in Florida or the East Coast, there's no question that taking a Caribbean cruise from Florida requires less travel time. Despite that, you shouldn't miss the opportunity to visit Seattle or Vancouver before taking an Alaska cruise. Because both cities are relatively isolated compared to other destinations in North America, many cruisers heading to Alaska are exploring these cities for the first time. By arriving a day or two before your cruise, you'll have enough time to see each city's main tourist attractions, such as the Space Needle in Seattle or Stanley Park in Vancouver. For most passengers, visiting either city is an easy way to kickstart their vacation before their cruise begins. The last reason to book an Alaska cruise instead of a Caribbean cruise is to take advantage of the region's one-way itineraries. One of the first decisions you'll make when booking an Alaska cruise is deciding between a round-trip and one-way itinerary. Whereas round-trip cruises start and end in the same port, one-way itineraries start in Vancouver and end in Alaska, or vice versa. Like round-trip cruises, most one-way itineraries are 7 nights in length. Because these cruises only need to complete the crossing between Vancouver and Alaska once, they offer a more in-depth itinerary. With one-way cruises, it's common to visit an additional Alaska port along with a visit to Hubbard Glacier, which is typically too far north to visit on a round-trip sailing. There's also no need to stop in Victoria, British Columbia on these itineraries, which is a legal requirement for round-trip cruises departing from Seattle. Not only do one-way itineraries offer more port days in Alaska, but they give passengers the opportunity to start or end their cruise in South Central Alaska. Many passengers choose to visit Denali National Park and Preserve and Kenai Fjords National Park before or after their one-way cruise, combining a land and cruise vacation in the same trip. Although you can occasionally find a one-way cruise offered in the Caribbean, these sailings are far and few between. You cannot book a cruise from Florida that ends in St. Thomas, for example. Most commonly, one-way itineraries in the region are repositioning sailings, such as when a ship repositions from Florida to California via the Panama Canal. One-way cruise itineraries not only offer more flexibility, but also the chance to explore a region more in depth. In summary, you can't go wrong with either destination, but Alaska cruises are truly special. Choosing a cruise itinerary can be difficult, especially when deciding between an Alaska cruise and a Caribbean cruise. Even when weighing the pros and cons of each option, many cruisers struggle to pull the trigger and book one itinerary over another. You could easily come up with a list of reasons to book a Caribbean cruise instead of an Alaska cruise. The Caribbean has warmer temperatures for swimming, a greater number of ports, more attractive weather during the winter, and a wider variety of ships to book. Even still, Alaska offers a totally different style of cruising compared to most regions of the world. The combination of natural scenery with bountiful wildlife, flavorful cuisine, and a fascinating history makes cruising to Alaska an outstanding vacation experience. So, as you plan your next cruise vacation, don't be so quick to book yet another Caribbean cruise. Instead, consider venturing north for what's likely to be your most memorable cruise to date. Alright, there you have it, why you should cruise to Alaska instead of the Caribbean. Have you cruised to Alaska? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you can be notified every time we have a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you again soon.